But again, my name is Izzy Burke. I'm the communications coordinator for iHeart, operating out of AHEC. And I'm here to just provide a really short update on a few things that I've been working on, some of the things that our team has been working on collectively to try to work on our external communication strategy, which to us means, how do we expand the members of the iHeart network to build out our regional hubs? And then also internally, how do we improve communication within our regions across the leadership from different regions as well. So that's kind of our big picture thought that we're trying to address with our communications plan. So I will start just with a quick update on the regions themselves. For those of you who have been with us for a while, this map might look a little bit different from what you might have first seen as the regional breakdown for iHeart. But this was done kind of, taking into account our work and engagement over the past year or so to just better understand, what kind of breakdown makes the most sense in terms of trying to group together regions and states where there is overlap and synchronicity in terms of their needs and their resources. And also thinking about, from a big picture perspective, how can we better group our partners in different regions so that we can keep our information on resources organized and easily accessible for everyone. So the main differences that you might notice if you'd seen earlier versions of our map, Pacific Coast used to be broken into Pacific Coast 1 and 2, and that's now been translated into the California/Hawaii region and the Alaska plus Pacific Northwest region. And in the Northern Plains area, it was previously broken up into Northern Plains 1 and 2 because it does cover a pretty wide swath of land, but we are going to be moving forward with it just as the Northern Plains region. And in our East and Southern Plains area, that's essentially being combined into East plus Southern Plains as a single collective region. And again, this decision was kind of made based on our understanding of the needs of the regions and also what kinds of resources they have to offer, and what kind of existing, collaborative relationships already exist in these areas. So now the fun part. One of the projects that I've been working on since I joined iHeart is developing a new logo for us. We are very lucky to get to work with Jessica Harjo, who's an extremely talented Indigenous designer and artist. She works across lots of different mediums, not just graphic design. You can see in her photo here, actually, she's wearing some beautiful jewelry. And if you check out her website, she has all kinds of her art on display, as well as her graphic design portfolio, which is very impressive. So she's been a pleasure to work with and really was able to help us take the themes and the guiding principles of iHeart and translate them into a design that communicates all of those ideas and all of the different contributions too that our regions bring to the table. So would highly recommend if you are if you're looking for someone to assist with designing a logo, particularly for an Indigenous organization, would highly recommend working with her. And you'll see over here on the right side of the screen, earlier this year, I sent out a survey just to collect some initial information from our iHeart audience about, generally speaking, what do you want to see in a logo? What do you think makes a compelling logo? As an effort to try to make this a process where everyone can contribute and have their voice heard at this point in the design. So some of the things I wanted to highlight in particular that multiple people brought up in the responses of that survey were having a logo that's eye-catching, colorful, well-defined, making sure that it's relevant to the vision and the mission and the values of the program. But at the same time, wanting a design that's easy to reproduce and simple enough that it can be put on lots of different types of branding, whether it's, an email signature or a physical item or a banner or a tablecloth. That was something to keep in mind. And of course, having cultural significance ingrained in the design itself was of high importance to our group. And then just making sure that it's bold and a memorable design that's going to stick in people's minds and help them immediately see that and associate it with iHeart and the work that we do. So now the fun and exciting part. We have narrowed it down to 3 logos designed by Jessica with input from our team. And these logos, to kind of quickly give you a little context on Jessica's design process, some of the core values that we communicated to her and that she picked up on were, the purpose of iHeart is being to cultivate the next generation of leaders in Indigenous healthcare. So the flower being representative of growth, of nurturing, of planting the seeds for the next generation of healthcare professionals. And also incorporating in little subtle details, like you might notice the leaves being these small twists that sort of mimic the look of braids. Again, trying to just imbue it with some cultural importance to our group. So these are the 3 logos that we have, and we wanted to open this up to the people who get to contribute in iHeart and who are doing the hard work on the ground. We want to give you an opportunity to be a part of this final decision as well. So you'll see there's a QR code displayed on the screen there, which you can scan with your phone, and that should take you to a Google form where you can then vote for your favorite design out of the 3 of these. And our goal is I'll keep the voting open for today after the conference concludes, but we're gonna close it off at the end of the day today at COB. So that way, by tomorrow's summit, we'll be able to share the final selection with our whole group. If you're having any trouble accessing the QR code, I am also going to just put the link to that Google form in our meeting chat. So let me just copy that for you here. And I'm going to put this in the meeting chat for everyone to access. So please let me know if you have any trouble opening it, because we definitely want to get as much input as possible at this stage. And if you have any general thoughts or comments on the logo as well, we'd love to hear it in the chat if you like. It was a very fun process getting to work with Jessica and with the iHeart team to create this. So it's exciting to see it finally come to fruition here. All right. And I was a little bit quick with my presentation. So if anyone has any questions, oh, I see a question in the chat. Are there certain colors that represent Indigenous people? One of the questions, that's a great question. When we did the initial survey, I did include a question asking if people felt like there was a particular color that might be representative, not necessarily, I guess, of Indigenous people, but of your iHeart region. To try to see if we can incorporate that into the design. There were lots of answers across the board and not really a strong consensus on having one color represent a particular group of people or a particular location. So that's one challenge, I think, with developing a logo to represent such a diverse group as this, is that, with diversity being a strength, at the same time, you don't want to kind of paint in too broad of strokes and have people feel like something is not actually representative of them when we're making it out to be that way. But generally speaking, the color choices were based on feedback from the group and what Jessica initially came up with. We were thinking of earth tones, these kind of darker blues, greens, reds, just being sort of more nature-oriented colors rather than kind of bright or artificial looking. That was some feedback that we offered to Jessica, and she was able to hone down this palette for us. All right. I don't know if there are any other questions, but I'm going to be moving us along into the next session shortly. So please continue to ask questions in the chat. Oh, I see one chat. Will these colors be reversed based on the background, such as on a white background? Great question as well. So as part of our design package that Jessica is creating for us, we'll not only have this badge design that you see here, but also there is an inverted color option for a dark background. So the color palette will not necessarily change, but there will be a, whoops, that's my timer there. But there will be a ring around the design so that it still pops against a dark background. That's one thing that she's incorporating into the finalized product that we'll get. All right. I see one other question about what type of flower is it. That is not actually a question I know the specific answer to, unfortunately. That was Jessica's, that was her brainchild. I would certainly be happy to follow up with her if there is a specific one that she had in mind when creating it. So I'd be happy to ask her that question for you. All right, and with that, I am going to take us on into our next session.